Las Vegas Sportsline is owned and produced by Vegas Sportsline, LLC. All opinions expressed by the hosts or guests are their own and are not endorsed by either radio station management or any of its advertisers.
It's the Las Vegas Sportsline, presented by CG Technology Sportsbook.
Money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
Presented by WagerTalk.com.
We go. It's the Thursday edition of the Las Vegas Sportsline on a really crappy Thursday here in Las Vegas. Rain, wind, nastiness. Mark Seidel is not here today. He is in the process of moving. Guy picks the worst day of weather we've had in like 6 months to do the moving. I mean, I'd rather be moving in like 120 degrees than this. This sucks. Ralph Michaels is here. We'll have Jason Simple from CG Technology in a little bit. Jason with his real popular Thursday behind-the-counter rundown of all the big games this weekend. And, man, there's some huge games this weekend because it's championship week in college football. Ralph, this day sucks. It's terrible outside.
Yeah, I had to leave the house real early because a lot of times the first big rain in Vegas is worse than driving the first big snow in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. Well, the people down here are not real adept at driving in the rain. Yeah. Meanwhile, the ugliness actually started last night with a I'm trying to think of a nice word that I can say without getting us in trouble with the FCC regarding UNLV's performance last night against Valpo.
A pitiful turnover performance.
Man, what they end up 26? Was it?
Yeah,
was that the turnover number?
Yeah.
That's not good. And the Rebels, who had been making some nice progress after a not so good first game, they'd won 4 in a row. They took a step backwards last night. The good news is it's a non-conference game. The bad news is you got to do better than that. You just cannot give the ball away 26 times.
Yeah, and some of their success was misleading. I mean, beating Riverside, Oakland, Pacific, and Southern Utah at home. None of those teams are in the top 150.
I know.
Valpo's just a little better than those teams. I have them in the 120 or 130 range. So
I have them lower than that.
Yeah.
But I also have UNLV pretty low. So.
Yeah, I have UNLV just slightly better than Valpo, like only 3 or 4 spots. So to me, I thought the line should have been 4.
You thought there was some value in the line last night.
Yeah, I did. And after what I did, I was on UNLV a few times against those weaker opponents. Yep. And I thought they were matched against an opponent that just has gotten overlooked the last year and a half.
I lost the game last night. I had a good night overall. In fact, I've got 7 straight winning nights now, which is nice. But the loser was Montana against Creighton. And this was a wrong side. Creighton's good. I mean, they're really good. I'm looking at, if you're looking for a team that right now is nowhere near the top 16 that could be playing in the Sweet 16, I think it might be this Creighton team. Man, I'm telling you what, they are good offensively. And remember, each of the last 2 seasons, these Blue Jays have suffered a critical midseason injury.
Oh, horrible.
Really big injury.
They were a potential Elite 8 type team. 2
years in a row.
Yeah.
They lose the point guard 2 years ago. They lost the big kid last year, Martin, whatever his name is, who's back now, but it's kind of not looking like he did prior to the injury. Hopefully that rust wears off.
Martin Crampage. Yeah, Crampage. Okay, thank you.
They're good. And this was a terrible spot for them last night. They're coming back from the Cayman Islands where they win a tournament and get kind of a signature win to close that tournament against Clemson. They've got some big games coming up, including a home game with Gonzaga this weekend, which is going to be a huge event there. And I'm figuring, Montana's a pretty capable team. I know they're in the Big Sky, but they're a decent squad. They're borderline top 75. Yeah. So that's a pretty good basketball team. They got killed. I mean, Creighton just destroyed them. That's a team right now. If you're looking for someone at a big price that can be playing on the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. Now, I'm not suggesting they're going to get to the Final Four, but if you get to the Sweet 16, anything can happen. Ask Loyola. And I think Creighton could be one of those teams.
You talked about Creighton's offense. Creighton is actually number 1 field goal deficiency in the country out of the 353 teams.
Ken Thompson just texted in, it's crumple.
Thank you. I didn't know, and that's why I reached out to you. So thank you, Ken. Appreciate that.
Way to go, Kenny.
And you look at what they did. They beat Boise, Georgia State, and Clemson, 3 very good teams. I mean, Boise State and Georgia State aren't pushovers. So I agree with you. And their one loss was at home against an improving Ohio State team, and that was just the time they shot poorly. And so they need offense to get there, but this is a team that's going to have a top 20 offensive efficiency, top 70, 80 defense, enough to get it done. And I agree with him.
McDermott's a good coach, really good coach, because that was the dead spot last night, and you would not have known it. Crowd was into the game. Team was into the game. Very impressive performance.
And, you want to talk about having a test schedule with Gonzaga on deck. Then they have Nebraska, their big brother in state. So they've got back-to-back games. We'll see what they're really made of.
Fun team to watch right now. Time for us to check out some of tonight's action. We do that with the Thursday MJ Christensen Diamonds 4 at 4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Put them fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sportsline's 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
Well, we started off with a big one in the NBA. Look, it's the regular season, so you have to downgrade all these matchups because they don't mean a hell of a lot. But this is still a good game. The Warriors and the Raptors tonight. Toronto going to be looking to make a statement here. This is a bigger game for them than it is for the Warriors.
Okay, let me ask you a question in this game.
All right.
Curry was day-to-day.
Yes.
Draymond Green was day-to-day.
Right.
This morning they announced both are going to be out and play against Detroit.
Right.
You've beat this Toronto team 8 straight times in the series. 4 at home, 4 away. As a coach, do you say, let's just lose this to make sure it might give us a motivation moving forward if we face them again?
No. I think that
you're just going to give the guys an extra day rest.
I think the Warriors are looking at it and going, what do we care? It's the regular season.
Yeah.
Our season begins in April.
No question.
It does. Whereas Toronto, I'm not saying that everybody else is at a different level, but they are.
They are.
So for Toronto, despite the fact they're 17-4 or something like that right now, they've got the best record in the league. This is still more of a proving ground game for them, and that I think enters into the odds making for the game and where they price this, and also to how you handicap the game. I mean, if it's more important to one team than the other, you want the team that it matters more to.
I think Toronto has to prove they can beat them, no question. And Golden State is much like the Cavs last year. We saw LeBron just run the season out, and all that mattered to him was being in the top 4 seeds.
Yeah.
And if they play a road series, so what? They know they're good enough to beat anyone.
Yeah,
That's all
exactly.
Golden State has to do is finish. They want to finish in the top 4 seeds.
It's not. Look, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but if the Warriors lose the game by 30 tonight, you think it matters to them?
No, with Curry and Green back next game, that's all that's going to matter. You're going to watch this team go on a 17-3 run.
Nevertheless, they'll be fired up in Toronto tonight. The crowd should be a sellout crowd. They're going to be very excited to see this dominant team come in.
No question.
And you know what? Those are kind of fun to watch because when a crowd's really into it, it makes for good TV. The Clippers are still riding kind of high in the Western Conference. I don't know how long it's going to last, but we talked with Jeff Sherman on Tuesday from the Westgate. Superbook USA. And Jeff was talking about how the Clippers are actually built for the regular season. They have a good regular season roster. So, as one who's looking, I'm not doing any NBA till the playoffs. I'm keeping track of this stuff, though, because I want the Clippers to do well in the regular season and finish in the top 4 if possible, because that may make for a real good go against in the opening round of the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, we've seen the Clippers now win 10 out of 12, and this is another with series domination. The Clippers have beaten Sacramento 12 straight times.
Well, hasn't everybody?
Yeah. Sacramento, though, 5-4 straight up at home this year, 6-3 ATS. And Clippers played last night against Phoenix. It was close at the half. Clippers pulled away in the second half. I wouldn't be surprised if the Kings pull the upset tonight.
The University of Central Florida football team, as exciting and as sensational as they've been, they're never going to have a chance to play for a national championship. Not going to happen.
Should they? Yeah.
Well, that's a segue into this next game because the University of Central Florida basketball team, they will get to the NCAA tournament, and therefore they have a chance. At least they have a chance. They're not going to win it, but they'll have a chance. Big game for them tonight as they play host to Alabama. UCF has looked good so far. The only flop was the game against Florida Atlantic where they led by 20 and went to sleep and blew the game. To a rebuilding
WTF
rival.
game.
Yeah. It wasn't to me because I had Central Florida in that game, and was not happy about them blowing the 20-point lead and actually losing the game outright. They haven't lost since then, though, and they've been delivering some statement wins. They get a chance for another one tonight. UCF football fans wish this was a football game because it's Alabama and Central Florida, and boy, would they love to see that. They'll have to settle for basketball instead.
If you want to talk motivation on a scale of 8 to 10, 10, I would still say UCF has a 10 in this game. The school as a whole has still talked about playing Alabama.
Yes.
They still have that chip on their shoulder, and it carries over no matter what sport you have. You know, the thing I like about this matchup is the pace. Alabama is a middle-of-the-pace road. UCF just puts the brakes on. They're a top 15 D. Hey, and don't forget, Alabama had to replace a point guard, Colin Sexton, who's playing for the Cavs.
Yep.
And it's their first true road game of the year.
Yeah, I didn't play it, and I'm probably going to regret that. I think I'm going to regret that. UCF, this campus is going to be very fired up for this game tonight.
Yep.
And we'll look at the Golden Knights because they are on a winning streak, and they are favored to keep it maintained tonight as they go into Vancouver to face the Canucks. Boy, I mean, have things turned around in the last 2 weeks for the Golden Knights? You know, the fan base.
Oh, what an embarrassing 7-0 loss or 7-1 loss can do to you.
That was the Calgary game.
Yeah.
7-2 was the final, but they were down 7-0.
Yeah.
And in their 2 years of existence, I think the consensus is that was the worst game the Golden Knights have ever played. They haven't lost since. Fleury has been absolutely amazing in goal. We've talked about the presence of Schmidt being back on the ice, manning the blue line. Just a brilliant player at both ends of the ice. He's raised the confidence level of the entire team. And this is not a team to I would not be going against the Golden Knights right now. They have gotten it together, and at least for the time being, they are go with material. Of course, the odds makers know that, and you will have to pay a premium tonight to back the Golden Knights on the road. They're in the 150 range, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Dave. Number one, you have a 4-game winning streak since that embarrassing loss.
And I'm talking good wins.
But you've scored 14 goals in 4 games. If you're going to give Fleury 14 goals in 4 games, he's not going to lose.
No.
On the flip side, the Canucks 1-7-2 their last 10.
A lot of injuries and realities.
Oh, a lot of it. Their injuries are incredible.
Well, and they're supposed to be a bad team anyway, and got off to a surprising start. I think they were playing with a chip on their shoulder because the players are undoubtedly aware that nobody's giving this team a chance to do anything this year. And now, unfortunately, with the injuries also getting into the mix, we're seeing a regression to the expected norm for the Canucks.
And I'm not going to put a lot of stock into same-season revenge when it's only December, but the Knights swept them last year, and one of their rare home losses was to the Canucks in a shootout back on October 24th.
Time for us to get Jason Symbol up. Do we have Jason yet? Not yet. Jared Justice will get Jason momentarily, and we will get into what's happening this weekend. We should mention, by the way, a little heads up, we normally have the Wager Talk podcast that we record on Thursdays, and then it's up.
Technical difficulties tonight?
No, I'm not. I'm just going to tell them the truth. I never make stuff up. Mark Seidel is our producer, and Mark is doing his moving today, and you know he's just not available to produce the show. So we're going to do it tomorrow morning instead. We'll do it at about 11:30. We're going to tape it. And it'll be up probably by about 1:30 in the afternoon. So you won't get your weekend football fixed this early with the Wager Talk podcast.
But you're only missing one game, and we're talking about that later anyway.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we'll have all the information here. Meanwhile, Jason Symbol joins us this Thursday, or every Thursday at this time. And this segment gets so much attention from the bettors because they love what to find out what's going on behind the counter. Jason provides that great information. What's going on, big guy? How are you?
I'm pretty good. Can't complain. Happy to be back after a little Thanksgiving break.
And Metallica, of course. You were one of the Metallica guys. Did you list a count of how many Metallica concerts you've been to?
That was my number 12. I have the ticket stubs for all of them. My first Metallica show was Madison Square Garden in 1999.
I think the record for local sports personality attending concerts, however, is Steve Karp. I believe Karpy's been to like 90 Bruce Springsteen concerts.
Those Springsteen fans are crazy, but I was saying I was with some Metallica first-timers, and similar to a Springsteen concert, you got to know all the moves, during all the songs, so it's pretty crazy, but I love it. Been to so many, so it was a good time, had pretty good seats, it was super fun.
All right, well, that sounds like a lot of fun, and we've got a lot of fun to talk about this